Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. Today, I'm going to teach you all about how to create a pin because that's really the first step in using Pinterest and creating a Pinterest marketing strategy. So it all starts with that pin that they see when they go on Pinterest, and you want to make sure that it looks nice, that it converts, and that you're following Pinterest best practices. Let's see. Just gonna get my slides here. Okay. So a little bit about me. I know Natalie mentioned a little bit, but I am a blogger myself. So I have been using Pinterest to drive traffic to my blog since 2013. And it's actually where more than 80% of my traffic comes from. So I am a big believer in Pinterest. I think it works, and it's just a matter of coming up with a strategy and creating good pins so that you can be successful on the platform. And since then, I started my own Pinterest marketing company. So that's tabithafrost.com. And I offer Pinterest marketing and management services in addition to content writing and a few other things. And I've created all of my pins in Canva. So I am not a professional graphic designer. You don't need to be a professional graphic designer. If you are one, that's even better. If you have one on your team, that's great too. But I just want you to understand that it does not require professional graphic designing skills to create pins. So I'm gonna teach you everything you need to know about creating them. And then this is what we will cover. So we're gonna learn about how to navigate Canva, best practices for pin creation. I'm also going to show you some different features for Canva Pro, which is the type of Canva account that I have. So you'll see that it might look different than what you have if you have the free version, and just kind of go over what I love about Canva Pro, and I think it's totally worth it. I am an affiliate for them, but I am just letting you know that I love it because that's what I use, and that's really the only reason why. And then I'm going to show you step by step how to create pins in Canva. So we're going to be on my Canva account. I'm going to show you from start to finish how you create the pin and how you should download it. And then we're going to have some time for Q&A. And I'm also going to give attendees free access to my Canva course. So in my Canva course, it does cover a lot of the stuff that we're going to go over. But what's really cool is that it includes 10 free Pinterest templates. So that's going to help you get started in creating pins. If you're still totally lost and you feel like you don't know how to create pins, this is a great way to start. And in order to get access to the course, I just need all attendees to follow up with me by email because I'll need to create a login for you. So my email I will have at the end as well, but it's tabithafrostblog@gmail.com. So let me know that we met here, and I'll make sure you get access for free. And that should also help you to kind of stay refreshed on all the information I'm going to be sharing today. Okay, so Pinterest best practices. That's very important when it comes to pin creation. So when it comes to Pinterest, you want to think vertical. I know other platforms, they look more square or, they're more horizontal, but Pinterest, you want to always think vertical. And the best Pinterest size would be a 2:3 ratio, which is about 1,000 by 1,500. And that is the correct size that they use on Canva. So that makes it really easy. You don't have to worry about resizing anything. And you also want to make sure that you're using high quality photos. So whether those are professional or stock images, you just want to make sure that it's something that's not blurry or unclear or something that looks like it was taken on your phone of really bad quality. The ones that are more professional and high quality are going to perform better. And then lifestyle photos, these do really well on Pinterest. So people, animals, people using products, people, doing different things of what your pin is about. So whether they're cooking the recipe or, You know, sometimes just more of the real life lifestyle type pins are what people like. But really anything that's professional is going to do well. And then you also want to make sure that the photo is the main focus of the pin. So this slide, for example, with all this text on it would be way too much text to have on a pin. You just want to keep it really simple, and you want the photo to be the main focus. And then here are some more best practices for creating pins. You want to make sure that your logo is transparent. So if you have one that's not, that's fine. However, you got to keep in mind that if you're using a logo that's blue on these white slides, it's going to look like, you know, a little square down here and is pretty distracting. So Canva Pro does have an option where you can create transparent images, so that makes it really easy. And then you also want to make sure that any type of text overlays that you add, they're easy to read and they're simple. So keep it simple as much as possible. You don't need a lot of text. You don't need full sentences. And you want to also make sure that your logo and your text are not too close to the corners. So just kind of like this slide, you want to have a perimeter on your pin because sometimes it does get cropped in the feed. And then you want to use at least one brand color. If you have more, even better, but you don't need to feel like you have to use all of your brand colors on every pin that you create. And then you also want to stay away from scripted accent fonts as much as possible, especially for keywords. And I'm sure the other two speakers are going to go more into detail about that. I'm just going to be covering how to create pins today. But if you do want to check out the current trends on Pinterest to find some keywords for your pins and your text overlays, you can visit trends.pinterest.com. Those are all the current trends, and they update these at least weekly. So that's a great way to kind of keep in mind what's trending right now on Pinterest. And then you also want to add brand elements. So I will walk you through that soon and how to find those. You know, elements would be things like these dots right here and this graphic right here. So adding some elements to your pins can sometimes help catch the eye. And then if you have a call to action, so if you are e-commerce or maybe you have a free printable that you're pinning or something like that where you have a call to action, you can add that to your pins as well, but it's not always necessary. So some examples of a call to action might be a, you know, shop now or download here, learn more, those types of things. And another thing that I really suggest is just do A/B testing on all of your pin designs. So, you know, do a few different kinds to start with and make them, you know, branded, but also different. And try all of them out and see which performs better. Sometimes you'll be surprised that the pin that you really liked, your audience doesn't like so much, and the pin that you thought was just okay is going to do really well. So to really get a feel for your strategy and what's working for your audience, you should A/B test your pins and you know, continue to do that here and there and play around with some new designs. All right, so we're gonna go over creating pins. So I'm gonna switch over my screen here to Canva. Okay, so when you're in Canva, and if you don't have a Canva account and you're wondering what Canva even is, you can sign up for a free account, just canva.com. So I do highly recommend that. If you use another platform like Photoshop or something else, that's fine too, but this is going to go over how to create a pin in Canva. So up here in the corner when you log in, you'll see create a design. So you'll click on that and you can search for Pinterest. Here's Pinterest pin, and you'll see right here it says 1000 by 1500 pixels, so that's the correct size. And then you're gonna see all these things on the left. So there's templates, uploads, photos, elements, text, and so on. We'll go over all of these. But first, we're just gonna start with one of the Canva templates. That's really the easiest way to create a pin, especially if you're new to creating pins. This would probably be the best way to start. So I am just going to use this one to start as an example. And since I kind of like having a theme for my presentations and I have a bunch of cactus stuff, we're going to just use that as an example. So since I mentioned I have a Canva Pro account, I have access to millions of stock images, so that's a really nice feature. I believe with the free version, you either don't have as many or don't have any, but if you do see it on your account, it would be under photos here. And I'm just gonna drag and drop one of these photos right into this template. So it's really easy. And then I'm gonna change the color down here. Just move this. And when it comes to the image of the pin, I like to use colors that match the image and then also add in, at least one brand element or color and font. So what I like about Canva is down here where it says photo colors, it's going to pick up on all the different colors that they find in this photo. So it makes it look really nice and flawless by blending everything together. So I'm going to go with this blue. And then let's just say that this pin is about, how to plant a cactus. So it's really simple. We don't really need to say anything more about this pin because it's going to take them to a blog post that says how to create or how to plant a cactus. And then this might be where I could just delete that completely. I think I'm just going to delete it and we're just going to keep this really simple. And then I'm going to center it. And then I'm going to change the font to one of my brand fonts. So League Spartan is one that I like to use personally. So I'm just going to switch to that. And then again, you can highlight this and change the color. And we're going to see how it looks with the dark. So we're going to go with that just as an example. And then we want to make sure that we add our logo. So in Canva Pro, they have folders where you can stay really organized with all of your different designs. I have to separate mine by client and things like that. And there's a folder just for logos. So I'm going to use this one. This is my blog logo. And you don't want it too big to be distracting, but you definitely want it to look branded. So I kind of go with about 150 by 150 up to 200 by 200. And it really just depends what your logo looks like. If it's something longer like this, you probably want it to be more 250. So we're going to put it in the center. The center is always better if possible, but if you need to put it in the corners, again, you want to make sure there's a perimeter around all places where you put your logo or any text or elements because those will get cut off. But I think in the center up here is an appropriate place for it. And then I want to add some elements because I think elements really add a lot to a pin. So they have all types really. They're really cool. There's shapes and there's frames where you can drag and drop pictures. They even have animated stickers, charts, grids, gradients, but I'm just going to go to the ones I've recently used just to make it easy. And, here's a little cactus graphic, but I'm not really liking that one, but it's cool because you can just play around with the different elements here. Since I use this one on my slide, I'm just going to use this because it kind of goes with the theme. So I can add one of these in the corner and I can duplicate it up here by clicking this button and I can add another one. So that's going to be my pin right there. So it's pretty easy. This is using a template and it's easy to read. It kind of follows all the best practices. And then to download, it's really easy. You just go up here in the corner. There's a download option. And I suggest either PNG or JPEG, but if you do PDF or something like that, that's fine too. It should work okay on Pinterest. But PNG is usually my default, and then you download it. So it's really easy. And then I'm gonna go over more of these different elements on Canva, and then also how to create a pin completely from scratch. So I know that might be a little scary, but you'll get the hang of it with practice. So I'm just gonna add a new page here, and I'm gonna go back to the photos here and start with a cactus that's gonna be on our pin, and I'm gonna go with this one. And I'm gonna show you another cool element, let's see, where we can remove the background on this. So you just click on the photo and you go to Effects, Background Remover. And it takes a couple seconds, but usually, there you go. So this kind of keeps it on brand with these colors, and I can make this bigger. So that's really cool. And then we'll just go with the same example of how to plant a cactus. So I'll add some text. And these are my default fonts, but in the brand kit, which is what I'll show you next, you'll be able to set your default font names, but they also have some really cool font combinations. So if you don't know where to start with fonts, these are some good ideas. You can add these into your pin and change around the text. So we'll just do that for now as an example, and we're going to go with how to plant a cactus again. And we're going to make this smaller. Looks like I lost my other one. Okay. And then I'm going to just stretch it out a little bit, reduce the size again. Cactus. And then I want to bring this down a little bit. So there's a couple ways where you can do that. You can ungroup, and you can also do the line spacing. So that's really cool. You can do the line spacing or letter spacing to kind of give your text some dimension. So I'm going to ungroup these and just move this down. So that was pretty easy. And then I'm going to go back to the elements again and find something to add here. So I'm just going to do these fun little dots, and I can make this smaller, and maybe I'll put it down here. And then I feel like with a pin like this, there might not be a great place to add a logo. I feel like if we put it in the corner here, it's really taking away from the image. So sometimes it's more appropriate to just write out your website name. So I'm gonna put in my website, and then I'm just gonna turn it, and that's something that's really cool, and a way to create really modern looking pins is doing this slanted font here. So, and then I'm gonna change the color because I think it's a little dark. I'm gonna go with white. So that's another way to just create a quick and easy pin from scratch without knowing a lot about design. Canva kind of sets that all up for you. And another cool feature as well, I'll add a new page, is they have different backgrounds you can use. So if you don't want the background of your pin to be a solid color, or you want to, add maybe your product onto a background, that works too. So we're going to go with this one, and let's say, since this is a smoothie, maybe your product that you're selling, you sell a blender, and this is one of the examples I give in my course as well. And if it's not transparent like this one is, you can make it transparent by going to the effects and background remover. But this is kind of a great way to showcase a product if you're a product seller, and just kind of showing what your product can do. And then I'll also show you how you can add a call to action. So if this type of pin applies to you more than something like this, which might be more of a blog or tutorial or something more informational, this type of pin would be good for somebody with a service or a product or some type of call to action. And then I really like using these shapes for creating a call to action. So, you know, just making a little rectangle that you can add down here. And then again, I'll try to find a color that goes better, but if, say, your brand is me right here and I want to keep it on brand, I'll do one of my brand colors to have a pop of color. I think the green probably goes well with the pineapple. And then you'll add in your text. So you'll go back to text and we're going to say shop now. We're going to change the font. I'm going to make it all caps and reduce the size a little bit. And again, you know, if you have other brand fonts you want to use, that's totally fine. I think for call to actions, though, you want to kind of keep it really simple and easy to read. I think all caps works, but lowercase is fine too, but nothing scripted or fancy. And then you just want to add your logo again. So I'm going to add mine as an example. And I think with this white space up here, this would be a good place to put it, but with room around the corners in case it gets cropped. So this is a great way to create a really simple, easy pin for somebody like a product seller or service provider. And, you know, you can spruce it up with some elements too. Sometimes it's not really fitting, but, you know, lines are always great. It's just something simple that you can add over here. Or down here, we'll duplicate that. And this just kind of turns it. So if you ever want it to be a certain direction. So that's also a nice way of adding in some elements. And we can even change the color to add another brand color. And then, so those are the few different ways you can create a pin. And you'll really get the hang of it. You'll get faster when you practice more. And don't be afraid of using the templates. I think those are a great way to start. And then also with the templates in my course, those are a little more less recognizable as a Canva template than, you know, maybe something like this isn't as obvious. So it looks a little bit more customized because sometimes you'll see on Pinterest, it's a dead giveaway that someone's used one of these templates. And so that's okay. But as you get better, you probably want them to look a little bit more unique. And then I just wanted to go over some of these cool features that make creating pins really easy, especially if you have maybe various brands or products and a brand guide that's pretty extensive. This is a great way to keep everything organized in the brand kit. So you can add all of your hex colors here, and so they will be saved. And when you create pins, they're easy to access. You know, back here with the colors. Normally, with the free account, they wouldn't have them here. You just have to manually add your hex colors each time, or you know, pick a color by browsing their different palettes. And then same with the fonts. So you can set your brand fonts, which I've done here. I have my set font for my heading, my subheading, and my body. And then you can also upload fonts. So although Canva has plenty of fonts to choose from, occasionally they might have one that you can't find. And so you can download the zip file and upload it here. So that has been the case with some pins that I create where I don't have the correct brand font. So I'm able to upload it here. And then the folders, I think I went over that, but that's another great way of just keeping everything organized. And then we'll go back to this pin as well. And let's see, went over those. Okay, I guess there are some premium elements too, so that's another upside to the pro. So I don't know if all of these are available with the free, but if they are, that is even better. And I believe videos is a newer feature too. So sometimes people like to stack, you know, a video and a picture on a pin, which is really cool too. I think we're gonna go with the cactus again. So someone might have a video about how to plant a cactus, and then they might have the picture below it. So let's go back to cactus. This is a cool way to kind of also add some video and kind of just switch it up with your pin designs. And we'll fix the color back here. Well, actually, we'll leave it white for now. The one thing to keep in mind with videos, though, is they're not clickable currently on Pinterest. If it's organic, if it's paid, it is clickable. But these do tend to get a lot of engagement. So I would play around with video pins, stacking video with images like this, trying different pin types like this with a call to action, and also something simple like this one and this one. And then, you know, you can add in your text again. And even something really simple like this, the white background and the black text, works really well. And then also the logo, of course, or your URL. So these tend to perform really well on Pinterest as well. And then there's also story pins and GIFs and different types of pins that you can create. I think in time, Canva will have templates for those. They do have templates for video pins, so you probably want to check these out too. These are really cool. And if you don't have video content, again, you can use the stock videos, or you can even create your own video with a bunch of pictures. And they will do that for you on Canva too. So if you click on something, this pin, you can animate it and it can do different things like this, and it kind of turns it into its own video. And up here as well, when you download, there's a way to turn this into a video or a GIF. So that's really cool too. But I would definitely start with just the basic pin like this before you jump into video and story pins and GIFs, and really get the hang of these first before you try out the other ones. Okay, let's see how we're doing on time. Let's see. I think that was all that I wanted to cover with creating pins. I guess, I know it's a little early, Natalie, but if we want to open it up for questions, and then if there's any questions that kind of require a tutorial, I can walk them through that.
Definitely. Let's see
Awesome.
what questions came in. We had quite a few. Let's see. Okay, so this one says, last month, 40,000 people visited my Pinterest. How do you monetize that?
It depends what your business is and what your goal is. So I always think that website traffic is a good goal to have on Pinterest. You want to make sure that your website is converting. So I'm not a specialist in website conversions, but you want to make sure that the traffic you're getting from Pinterest is converting for you in some way. So whether that's an email sign up, you know, if you have a freebie that someone can opt into, if you have a product to sell, if you have a service. So it really just depends on what it is that you're trying to accomplish and what type of brand or business you have. But I would say that's quite a lot of traffic from Pinterest. So I think you're headed in the right direction. And I think it's working for you on the Pinterest side of things. It just might be some things that you can fix up on your website, because the thing with the Pinterest user is they don't want to jump through a lot of hoops. They really want to, they see a pin like this, how to plant a cactus, and they want to learn how to plant a cactus. They don't want to, you know, find a site that has nothing to do with this. That's going to turn them off and they're going to click out. So that's also important too. You want to make sure that your pin is really relevant to the landing page that it's going to. And that there, there aren't too many pop-ups and distractions on your website to really make sure that's really clear and concise and they can find what they're looking for.
Perfect. Let's see. How do we A/B test? How do you see the analytics for that?
Oh, great question. So I will just give me a second. I'll log into my Pinterest account and I'll show you that.
Perfect.
And I'm sure the other speakers might touch on this as well, but since we have plenty of time, I will show you how that works. Okay, 1 second. Okay, let me just switch my share to okay. So this is my blog's Pinterest account. I just logged in, and this is if you have a business account, which you should if you're seeing that you're having however many views and clicks. This is the business hub that you land on when you first log in. So one great way to kind of see a comparison of pins is going to recent pins right here. And these are kind of the 4 pins this week that have been doing well for me. As you can see, they're all different. So that isn't helping me right now as far as the A/B testing, but you can also go to your analytics and overview. And this is another great way to kind of compare pins. So these will show the images associated with the pins all the way down, and you can see which designs are performing better than another. But sometimes if you've spaced them out, it's a lot to go through. So if it was something that you did recently, I usually just like going to my profile and going to pins. And let's see, I'm sure I have some here that are the same. Okay, for example, the cookware. These 2 pins, non-toxic cookware, and this one here, they both say the same thing, but they're 2 different pins. The image is different, the elements are different, kind of the placement of the image is different. But I can see here that this one got 56 impressions and this one only got 21. So this is a great way to A/B test pins, and I would say this one on the right is performing better. So maybe replicating that design again would be a good idea for another pin. So it doesn't need to be about cookware, but let's say like these infused water recipes, I might want to use the same design and just swap it out for another image and kind of see how that performs. So that's a great way to kind of tell how your pins are doing. And then always just tracking your analytics. And then also on your website, you can track on your Google Analytics and kind of see where your Pinterest traffic is coming from. It should provide you with a URL of the pin URL. So you can click on that and you'll be able to tell what pin it is. So that's another great way to A/B test.
Perfect. Let's see. Do you recommend tagging your pin's image with your social media handle? I know you put your website on there, but do you recommend putting your social media handle as well?
I personally don't, but again, it really just depends on what your goal is. So if your goal is website traffic, I would not. If your goal is to get YouTube subscribers, then that would make sense. If your goal is to get Instagram followers, it would make sense to tag those. However, people on Pinterest normally aren't going to Pinterest to then go to YouTube or to then go to Facebook or Instagram. They're really looking to find something that they're already looking for. So I would recommend having it go to your site first and foremost, and hopefully your social handles are on there. So if the user themselves is really into social media and they're wanting to find you on these different platforms, that's a great way to do that on your website, but I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, let's see. Can Canva take a current picture I have and remove the current background and add a new background?
Yes, I will show you how to do that. So
Perfect.
let me go back to Canva. Okay, so I'm just going to start a new one here. So again, we'll go to photos I'll just use this one as an example, and we're going to go to Effects, Background Remover. So this is going to take out the pink, or even if it's you have a lot going on in the background, they do a pretty good job at removing it completely. So it just takes a couple seconds. Okay. So just move this down here. And then I can drag and drop another photo in here if I want. So say something like this into the background. Or I can even go back to backgrounds and, you know, add in something different like this. Or they have some cool abstract ones too. Something like that, and add your text. And I actually really like this feature. I've been playing around with it a lot for my, not for my blog, but for my website where my services are. I have been able to create some pins where I have, you know, one of my pictures from my branding session, and I remove the background and I add some fun colors, because that's part of my branding elements, is really the bright fun colors. And I think it's really cool, and it definitely showcases your brand. And I think in some cases pinners even like bright colors and things that really pop. So that's a great way to kind of change this up and make it more your style. Or if, you know, yellows are more on brand for you, you can do something like that. So it's really cool.
Awesome. Is the brand kit feature at an additional cost for Canva Pro users?
Nope, it's included with Canva Pro. So if you have a Canva Pro account, it should be there on the home page right here under brand kit. And if you don't have Canva Pro, you can try it for free for 30 days. So that's also really cool, because if you find you want to try it out, but you're not sure it's for you, I would just try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, if it's even something that you need. But it should be here on your homepage on the left.
Okay, great. Is the CTA clickable, or do you have to always include your website on the pin?
It is not clickable, so it's really just a visual thing. So you want to make sure every time you upload a pin to Pinterest or you schedule it on Tailwind that you do include a link. You don't want to ever leave that blank, because if you do, if someone clicks on it, it's not going to go anywhere. So just make sure that it's always on your pin when you create it.
Perfect. Let's see. Sean wrote in asking, what if your business isn't very visual? What do you pin?
If it's not very visual, that's when I would use stock images that might be relevant. I mean, even something like this, you can have a business that has nothing to do with plants, but this is just a really cool looking pin, and you can just add some text. And in some cases, text being the focus of the pin is necessary if you don't have anything to really showcase. So this is just an example. So say you have like a service, sometimes those are kind of hard to create pins because you maybe don't have any photos, or there's no way to really showcase your service. So, you know, you can put something like, well, since this is pool, you can put pool services. Something like that, and it's a cool looking pin. It's showing what it's about, but you don't necessarily need all these pictures of pool or anything like that. So I hope that answers your question.
Perfect. Brianna wrote in asking if you could please expand on using a transparent logo.
Yes, so let me see. I'm gonna go back to some folders here. Okay, so this is an example right here of a non-transparent logo. It has a white background, and it just doesn't really flow with the pin. It just kind of looks tacky. So you want to make sure that you're using something like this that has a clear, transparent background. And if you don't have a transparent one, you can use that feature where you just click on this and go to Effects, Background Remover. And there you go, it should remove it for you. And then that just looks way better on pins, I think.
Awesome. Let's see. We have a lot of questions coming in. Let's see. Heidi wrote in. Heidi wants to know what exactly happens when someone clicks on a pin. She just wants you to explain it a little bit further.
When someone clicks on a pin, it's going to go to the link associated with that pin. So I will go back to my Pinterest account and just kind of show you how that works. So when you create a pin, let's see. So when you create a pin, it's going to ask you to add in a title, description, your website. I've added it here because this is a repin. It's by default not showing the description, but even if somehow I forgot, you want to make sure you always fill in all these fields. And then when someone were to click on that, so we're going to click on this pin, it's going to direct them to the associated blog post on my blog, Milk Bath Benefits. So whether you're linking to a blog or a services page or a landing page, some people even link to their Etsy store if they have one. There are certain requirements with Pinterest as far as links go. So you can find that in the, I think it's help.pinterest.com. You can go over all the guidelines. So affiliate links is one that's a little iffy. If there's too many redirects on a link, sometimes they'll flag that. So you just want to make sure it's a pretty good quality link that you're using.
Okay, perfect. Is there a benefit to adding video even if you're not paying for a clickable link?
Yeah, I think sometimes there's a benefit to video. One thing to keep in mind is people don't normally use audio on Pinterest, so you want it to be something that they can just watch and not listen to. And it's not, when you think video, it's not something like TikTok or Instagram. It's something more high quality, behind the scenes. So if maybe you're a food blogger and you've just made a recipe, that maybe you post a video or a story pin kind of showing you a little bit of the process, whether you're making the dough or, you know, a little bit of the steps that are going into the creating the recipe. And then you just want to make sure that it's short. So under 20 seconds, I think 20 seconds is the max. So anywhere between 5 and 15 seconds, I'd say is usually the best. And it's just kind of a teaser. It's just to get people excited and to get people engaged. And so I think in some ways there's a benefit, and I think it doesn't hurt to play around with it. If you find a lot of people are engaging on your videos more than your pins, it's good to have those around because they might click on your profile, they like what you posted, and they want to see what else you have on your Pinterest account.
Perfect. Can you show us how to add a pin to your Pinterest account? So once you've created the pin, you've downloaded it to your computer, how do you add that onto your account?
Yes, I will show you that right now. So let me switch over again to Canva. So I'm going to go with this first one, and I'm going to download it as a PNG. And I don't need all 5 pages. I'm just going to do this first pin here. So I'm going to click page 1 and download. Okay. And then okay, so here's my Pinterest account. This is the manual way to pin. I use Tailwind for scheduling all my pins, and I think if you're going to be really active with your Pinterest marketing, I would use a scheduler. But if you're just pinning one single pin, you can do that here where this plus icon is. You can also do it up here where it says create pin. And then on mobile as well, there should be a plus icon where you can add a pin. So you just click on that and select pin. And then I will click on this to go to my downloads. And then I'm going to do how to plant a cactus. You're going to add your title. And as it says here, your first 40 characters are what show up. So I usually like to keep this under 50 or so characters. I think they allow up to 100. But something simple like this is perfect. It explains what the pin is about. And then you write in your description, which is a whole other part of Pinterest marketing. But this would be 1 to 2 sentences, up to 500 characters that incorporate keywords, but not keyword stuffing. You don't want to list So you just want to write something like, here are some tips for planting a cactus. So we're kind of repurposing how to plant by writing planting a cactus, so that someone might search planting a cactus and some people might search how to plant a cactus. So it's kind of a good way to incorporate both sets of keywords, but in a different way, and so on and so on. So you write, you know, 1 or 2 sentences incorporating the keywords, and then you'd add in your destination link. Then you'd pick your board you want to schedule it to and click publish. And then hopefully later today you'll learn kind of more about keywords and how to find them and what they are. But if not, and you still have questions about that, I do have a free webinar on my website and a lot of blog content that kind of goes over that. And then also the Tailwind blog is one of my favorite places to find, you know, the most up-to-date information with Pinterest marketing. So they go over a lot about best practices for keywords and how to find keywords.
Awesome. Thank you for showing that. Let's
course.
see what we have next. If you have multiple businesses, should you have a Pinterest account for each or just different boards for each?
It really depends on how different they are. I usually recommend having a separate account for each, but if it's practically the same thing and it's like you're duplicating it, I would keep it on the same account. But for example, with me, I have a health and wellness blog, and then I have my services under my name, Tabitha Frost. Those two just don't mesh together, so that's why I have 2 separate accounts. So it really just depends on what your 2 brands are.
Perfect. If you do not have a business account, could you still do A/B testing?
No, you need to have, that's another thing too I really recommend you do, is convert your Pinterest account to a business account. It's free to do that. If it started as a personal account, you can convert it to a business one. But if you use your personal account for pinning, you know, all of your personal stuff, like planning your kids' birthday parties and your favorite recipes, it's probably best to just start over with a brand new business account that's specific to your brand. The only way you're going to access the analytics is by having a business account. So you want to make sure you do that, and it's really easy.
Okay. Is there a day or time when you get more engagement?
There is. So one thing that I really love about Tailwind, the scheduling platform, is they will pin when you get the most engagement, and this varies. So it really just depends on your account. One person might get engagement at a certain time when another person does not. And you also have to take into account time zones. So that's one thing I really like about Tailwind, is they can detect that for you. I'm not really sure how you would figure that out otherwise, though.
Are there any drawbacks to converting to a business account?
Absolutely not. I think it's a great idea. If you're trying to showcase your brand, you would want to have that, because you really want to know what's going on. If you don't have access to the analytics, it kind of is a little bit pointless to market on Pinterest for the sake of driving traffic.
Got it. Let's see. How does Pinterest line up on the engagement scale in comparison to other platforms? Since mostly I go on to Pinterest for ideas. That came in through the chat.
That's a really great question. One reason why I really love Pinterest is most other platforms, for example, Instagram and Facebook, their engagement, the half-life of their posts are less than 1 day. So it's kind of something where someone sees the post and is quickly forgotten within a day. No one's really seeing it anymore. Some people are, but it got most of its engagement within that first few hours or day. With Pinterest, the half-life of a pin is actually 3.5 months. So it really does take time for Pinterest to build up, but you're going to be getting half of your engagement in the first 3.5 months, and you're getting the other half of your engagement after 3.5 months, and that can continue on for years and indefinitely. So that's what I really love about the platform. It's less real-time focused, and it's actually a search engine. So if that's something you don't hear today, keep in mind to try to get the vision of social media off your mind when it comes to Pinterest and just treat it as a completely different platform, because it actually is not social media, even though it does have some social elements. So it is a search engine. You want to treat it that way, and remember that people will search for something, and that's how some people will find your pins, is just by searching. They don't need to follow you. You don't need to have a ton of followers for your Pinterest marketing strategy to work. And even though it's a slower growing platform, I'd say on average, it's about 3 to 6 months to start seeing results with Pinterest. And that's taking into account you're being consistent, you're active, you're pinning daily, your pins look good, you're following best practices, and you're using keywords, all of the above. It's going to take some time, but it's definitely worth it because you're going to get way more engagement than any other platform.
Awesome. I know you just mentioned to pin daily. Is that what you would recommend, just once a day?
I would recommend on average 15 times per day. And I know that sounds like a lot, but I think a great way to create that many pins is, maybe the A/B testing is a great way to do it, but you can even create 5 pin designs for the same pin. So, back to our example with how to plant a cactus, you can create 5 of those like that look completely different with different images and pin all 5 of them. I wouldn't do them all on the same day. I would space it out. And Tailwind has a great way of being able to do that. But you definitely want to make sure you're active. And you want to keep it consistent. So if you're pinning 5 times a day, continue to pin 5 times a day. If you decide to bump that up to 10, you want to keep that consistent. And if you're going to gradually increase, you want it to be, a gradual thing, and not just pin one time, one day, and then the next day try to pin 100 things, because that might, Pinterest might flag your account as being spam if you do that. So just keep it consistent. But I'd say between 15 and 25 times per day is usually where people have the most success.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Let's see. Can you embed multiple hyperlinks into one pin?
You can only have one link, but then you could create multiple pins and have them going to different links. But the only reason why you would be doing that is if you were going to different landing pages on your site. You wouldn't want to be taking people away from your site and where you want them to go somewhere else, as far as, if you're trying to market on Pinterest. So when it comes to blog content, for example, you can have different pins going to different pages on your blog depending on what that pin is about. So hopefully that makes sense.
Perfect. Chang wrote in asking, how do you find inspiration to post the same image 10 times with different designs?
I know. That's tough because this was a recent algorithm update with Pinterest that kind of got everybody freaking out, is how am I going to create all this fresh new content? Because that's what they want. They always want to see different pins. And it really isn't that difficult. It's just a matter of, you can repeat images, but sometimes you might want to flip them or crop them or use, a different template, swap out different branding elements, maybe use different colors for that pin. And then also don't be afraid to use stock images. I know some people might recommend otherwise, but for me personally, I know that I can't be a professional photographer and a professional graphic designer and be a professional at Pinterest marketing. So if you're not good with photos, don't be afraid to use stock images. And I love that Canva has that available, but there's so many other sites you can use as well. And that's a great way to kind of diversify your pins.
Perfect. Are there specific industries that Pinterest works better with, or do you recommend, certain services that can use Pinterest, or is it mainly for everybody? We had a few questions come in regards to that.
Awesome. Yes. So I know a lot of people have concerns about that. And, I would say there's some niches that probably do better than others, but I think it's worth everybody to try it out at least a good 6 months. I know blogs always are going to do well on Pinterest because people are going to be looking for recipes and, decor ideas and different hacks and inspiration and tutorials. But I find that I've worked with all types of brands, and I haven't had a problem yet. So I know you might hear rumors of certain, different types of companies might not be a good fit for Pinterest, but I think you should just give it a try.
Awesome. We also had a few questions come in regards to Tailwind. Is it
Mhm.
free? Is it an app? Can you just give us a little more detail in regards to that?
Yeah, so Tailwind is a paid scheduling platform. They're more than just a scheduler because they have kind of their own set of analytics. You know, they will pin when you get the most engagement. They have different features like tribes where you can share pins with other pinners and exchange for sharing their pins. So that's a great way to get your content in the eyes of different audiences. And so many other features, but they do have a free trial for, it covers your first 100 pins. So if you're pinning 10 times a day, that will last you 10 days. Or if you want to start with 5 times a day, that'll last you about 20 days or up to a month. And then it's $15 a month, but I think it's totally worth it. And if you pay for the full year up front, I think it brings it down by a few dollars per month. It's maybe $12.50 or $13.50, which is what I do. It just makes sense. So, you know, it's 100 and something per year.
And is Tailwind only for Pinterest?
They have Instagram as well. So I use it for Instagram scheduling. And they also have a bio link called Smart Bio. So I really like that one as well because that's kind of the issue a lot of people have on Instagram is just having that one link. And their Smart Bio is actually free. So you do not have to have a paid membership with Tailwind to use that. So if you're on Instagram too, I really like their Instagram link. It just makes it really easy. People see your post and click on it and it goes to where you want to go.
Perfect. Let's see.
Yeah.
Heidi wrote in asking, do your pins have to be reviewed and approved before they get posted?
By Pinterest, I'm guessing is what you mean. No, they do not. Videos have to be approved. They take up to 24 hours. Usually they're pretty quick, but just regular pins, no. But there's still the possibility that it could get flagged if it's not following best practices. You know, obviously things like violence and drug use are things that are a big no-no on Pinterest. Or if you steal an image from somebody else that you're using without permission and somebody sees that and they report it for copyright infringement, or if you steal someone's logo. But I'm sure all of you here, that's not what your intention is with Pinterest, so I wouldn't worry about that.
Perfect. And then for our final question, can you please explain some benefits of posting on Pinterest? It's a pretty open-ended question, but what would you say are some top benefits?
I'd say the number one is organic traffic to your website. I've been using Pinterest organically. I'm more of the organic type Pinterest marketer, and even though it's slower, it does work. But to this day, and for the past 8 years, that's where 80% or more, sometimes up to 95% of my website traffic comes from. And that's with having thousands of Facebook followers and, you know, ranking high on Google. Pinterest still knocks it out of the park for me. So, or organic traffic.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you, Tabitha, for joining us today. I hope everybody enjoyed her presentation. She is the first speaker today for our Pinterest Summit. We do have 2 more speakers, but thank you again, Tabitha.
Thank you so much for having me.